So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to do a pull request, and we're going to do, so if you've never done a pull request before, you get to do it with me. And we're going to do it for the Ultimate Go Tour here. And so here I have the Ultimate Go Tour, and this is the, what do you call it, a repo? That's the repo where this tour is at. And so I'm going to go back here to the Ultimate Go Tour, and I've already opened up that repo right here, and I'm just going to show you how to do this. And then down here we have this variables, right? And so here's step one in variables, and I was just looking at this right here, and this should actually just be part of that sentence right there. So I thought, heck, I'll fix that. And so to do that, I'm going to go into this repo, and I'm going to fork it right here. So I'm going to create a fork of it, and Go Tour, I'm going to call this Arden Labs, right? And I'm going to create a fork of that. So now copy the main branch only. Yeah, sure. And now I'm going to fork it. So now it's creating a fork, and it's creating a fork into my repository, and you'll see up here it now says goes to 11 Go Tour Arden Labs. And so with that fork created, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to clone this into SSH. And so if you don't know what SSH is, you can also do HTTPS. It's going to ask you for your username and password. So I'm going to copy this to clone, but you just got to make sure whichever way you want to clone, you choose the right one. And what I was going to say is if you do not know what SSH is, you could go to Udemy Todd McLeod, and I have you do that, right? And here are all my courses. I have a course on Git, which I just created. So you could go watch that course, and you can learn about setting up SSH. And so now that I have that URL copied, I'm going to launch the terminal. So go into Finder, and I'm on a Mac. So Command Spacebar and type in terminal. And then here, I'm just going to expand this so we have this a little bit larger. I'm going to see where I'm at, print working directory. And then I could take a look at what's in that directory. I could cd into documents, and I could take a look to see what's in documents. And now that I'm in here, I could do a git clone, and I could paste in that URL I copied from GitHub. And so I'm now cloning that URL down into my machine. And now if I do an LSLA again, you'll see that I have Go Tour Arden Labs. So this here comes after Adobe, and that wasn't there before, right? And so now I have that in there. I could cd into Go Tour. And now that I am in here, I could do a git branch, and I could do -A to see what kind of branches are on the remote, as well as what's on main. If I just did git branch, it's just, what's on my local machine. If I just do git branch, it's just going to show me git branch right there. And so now I'm going to create a new branch, and so I'm going to do a git branch, and I'm going to call this Todd Fix, right? And now I'm going to do a git checkout. And now if I do git branch again, it'll show me that branch, and I'm going to do a git checkout and go to Todd Fix. And now that if I do git branch once more, just showing you how it works, I'm on Todd Fix, right? And so now I could open this in VS Code. You got to set this up in VS Code, and I'll show you to be able to do that command right there, code dot. But it's going to open up VS Code from where I'm at currently in this directory. So I'm going to do that, and VS Code is opening. And so now I have VS Code open with that. And if you don't have that code dot command working, you could come in here and go into your command palette. I just want to show you how to access it right there. But what is it? Command Shift P. And so I'm on a Mac, just switched over from Windows. And Command Shift P and type in shell command, right? I can install code command in path, and then that will make it work. Okay, cool. All of that said, I am now ready to fix this little deal right. Where is it? It's right here. I want to fix that. And so I'm not sure how they've organized, where did it go? I'm not sure how they organized the code base. So I'm just going to copy like a chunk of text and Command C, and then come over here to VS Code and do the find and Command V and just look for that. Cool, there it is, right? And now here inside this code, I'm going to pull that up over there, and that should fix it. And so I'm going to save this, and then I could close this. And with all that done, if I come back over here, somewhere in there it'd show me that file. It looks like contents changed, but also if I look at my version control right here, it tells me that's changed. But I like doing this at the terminal, so I'm just going to close VS Code, Command Q to close VS Code, go back to the terminal. And at the terminal now, I'm going to clear all this out, and I'm going to do a git status. And it tells me I've modified that, so I'm going to do a git add. And I could do a -- all. and that's going to add everything. Now if I do a git status, it'll say, hey, it's on the staging area, so I'm going to do a git commit and a message, and the message is going to be adjusts a typographic error. And I'm not sure I'm using the word typographic correctly, and since precision is important, typographic define. Typographic is the art or technique of arranging type to make written languages readable. So I think that's, the space between pairs, line spacing, that works. All right, I just got called dinner and then I went outside and played catch with the kids. So now we need to set the username and email, and I want to show you something here. So if I'm in, let me bring this up. I'm just making sure I'm still recording. I'm in the Go to or Arden Lab. So if I do an LSLA, I could see in here I have a .git folder. This is my hidden Git folder. And I could go into that Git folder, so CD into that hidden Git folder, and I could say, hey, what's in this hidden Git folder? And then I have a config file here. You see that config file? And so this is my local configuration for this one Git repository as opposed to my global configuration. And so if I want to see what's in that, I could do a cat config and take a look at it, and it'll show me stuff about my branches and origin, and that's really interesting to look at as you're working in Git, just to kind of see and tracking branches, which branches are being tracked. But also at my user account, so cd change directory tilde to my user account. So before I do that, I'll do a print working directory. You can see that's where I'm at. And if I do a cd tilde, this is where I'm at now. So it brings me into my user account. If I do an LSLA here, I've got a global git config file right there. And so if I take a look at that global git config file, and I'm going to do this with Nano. Last time I got lost in Vim. I don't really care for Vim. I find VS Code and Nano to be sufficient. I know some people love Vim. I've never gotten into it. So there's nano.gitconfig, and so it brings me in here and it shows me there's my name and my email. So I'm just going to close this, and to get out of Nano, these little carets mean control. So if I press Control O, it'll write any changes and save them, and Control X will get me out of this. So I'm going to Control X out of that. I'm going to cat my git config file so we could see that change. And now I'm going to set, and I could also see what variables do I have, right? So I could do a git config, and I could do global, and then I could do -- list to see what variables I have set. And right now it's just that, right? And so if I want to set this, I could set it. So I'm going to set it to git config and then global. And the first one I'm going to set to is going to be user.name, Todd McLeod. And now I'm going to do that git config global list again. And there's username is equal to Todd McLeod. And then the next one I'm going to do is, instead of username, I'm going to do that to email. And it'll be toddmcleod@gmail.com. And now I'm going to list that out again, and there you can see what they look like. And then I'm going to cat my git config file once more, just to see how that changed. So cat.git-config. And you can see this is Git user per configuration file. So name is equal to that, and this is equal to that. And then I can uncomment these. So I'm going to nano that. I don't need those in there anymore. And I could come down here, and I could get rid of those. I said uncomment, but I mean delete. So this is Git's per user configuration file, and the user is name Todd McLeod, and the email is Todd McLeod keep that to yourself. And now I'm going to do a Control O to write this out. So down here, Control O will write that out, and I'm going to write it to this file. That's good. I'm going to do a Control X. That's good. And I'm going to CD back into my user directory, and then go into Documents, and then go. I guess I was already there, and then go into the Go Tour. And now if I do a git status again, I can see where I'm at, and I'm on branch Todd FX, nothing to commit. And I'm going to do a git push, and we'll push this, and it says git push set upstream origin Todd fix. And so I could see what happens here when I go into my local git config. So I'm going to cat inside, and just to remind you where this is, LSLA, I'm going to do a cat, it's a little bit involved, cat, and then into that git config file, right? And I'm going to see that. And now I'm going to do a git push -- set upstream origin Todd fix. And so I'm setting the origin to this upstream, right? For this branch Todd fix, I'm setting the origin upstream, so I'm going to do that. And so now I'm pushing that on up. And now if I cat that file again, you can see this new thing was added in my local one. So we're tracking a branch, right? So the branch Todd fix is tracking origin, and origin is this, right? And so that allows me to push without specifying which the branch is, which is kind of interesting. All right, so now that I've done all that, I could come over to GitHub again, and I could go back into the repository for Arden Labs, and then that is forked from right here. So I could click on this and go back to that repository. Ghost 11 Toddfix has recent pushes 1 minute ago, and I could compare and pull request, and I could do like that, adjust typographic error, small change, Bill, you know, recording this in a video also. This in a video also to show a pull request. There we go. And allow edits by maintainers, perfect. And I'm just going to create that pull request. So that's how you create, you know, a pull request. You want to fork a repository, and then once you forked it, you want to clone your fork, bring it down to your local machine, create a branch, make changes, push those changes up to your branch, come over to the original repository in GitHub and say, hey, I want to create a pull request. It's easy, right?